One of the hardest things for someone with social anxiety to do is get up in front of an audience. Today, Barbara is doing just that, giving a presentation on social anxiety disorder for the general public.
The anticipation of giving a speech is really the worst for me. Sometimes I'm a little bit reluctant and, sometimes get angry or frustrated, like, why do I have to do this? But I don't really have to. I'm choosing to, and part of it is growth.
In the back.
That's
okay,
why
good.
I keep doing it.
Today's presentation.
Oh, I have this problem with anxiety, and I don't do that.
I did well in school academically, but I never said a word. I always sat in the back of the class, hoping the teacher wouldn't call on me. If there was ever the slightest hint that class participation would be involved that day, I felt like I was literally going to die.
When I'm done and it's over, a lot of times I just feel this huge relief. But also there's been times where I feel so emotional, like I want to cry, because it's just like I think I've built so much into it, and it's just been so draining that, I just kind of, I don't know, it just all.
What do you feel?
I don't know, I'm just sad.
Many people have a situation where maybe they were humiliated, criticized, rejected, evaluated poorly socially, and then they felt a loss of control, and they felt embarrassed, and there was a lot of shame that they experienced in that moment. And then what happens is they became more and more fearful of those situations, and so more avoidance took place, or just negative perceptions of situations like this. And so they started to then develop almost like a conditioned response to their fear.
Of all the adults or adolescents that a psychiatrist would say have social anxiety or social phobia, some acquired it. They didn't have any special temperamental or genetic bias, but some did. The temperamental bias, which is inherited, is not for shyness. What you inherit is a tendency to overreact to anything that's new, novel, unfamiliar.
We know that a particular circuitry in the brain of animals is reliably triggered when those animals experience fear in particular laboratory situations, something called conditioned fear. And it specifically involves a brain structure called the amygdala, which is kind of the central part of the brain for fear responses.
This structure always fires when anything new happens. You hear a sound you didn't expect, you see a sight you didn't expect, a smell you didn't expect. And we think that the children who are born with this bias to overreact to novelty inherit a neurochemistry that makes this structure, the amygdala, very excitable.
In a groundbreaking study, Dr. Jerome Kagan of Harvard University videotaped the reactions of infants to unfamiliar stimuli. His research suggests that some infants have a temperamental bias to experience anxiety.
If you were an infant with such a chemistry, then if we showed those infants interesting stimuli they never saw before, like mobiles, colorful dolls that were moved in front of their face, that if you had this chemistry, you would begin to show this motor vigor and begin to cry because we had passed your threshold. That is a sign that you have inherited a chemistry in the amygdala that has rendered it very excitable. Therefore, for the rest of your life, you should be biased to react to unfamiliar things with an initial restraint.
Kayla, what did you learn yesterday? Did you have your picture in your desk? Is your picture in your desk? Can you share it with us?
Kayla is 7. She suffers from a disorder called selective mutism, which is a form of social anxiety disorder.
There are some children that just manifest social phobia this way. They just literally shut down. And they do it with their voice because that's their easiest way of not communicating, not interacting. They find that, and over time they learn, that's like a learned behavior. So they shut down and they don't speak, so no attention will be brought to them.
Do you brush your teeth every day? Yes or no? Do you brush them every day? Yes? Are you shaking your head, Jess? I didn't hear it rattle. Shall I come back to you? Okay, I'll come back to you.
These children want so desperately to talk, and they can't. The words just don't come out. They can't speak. It's stuck. I've had little kids tell me that they're stuck in their throat, they're stuck in their chest, their tongue's playing tricks on them, their lips won't open up right, their mouth just doesn't work, their brain is telling them not to talk.
Brad, who's your neighbor?
When I watch my daughter in the classroom, it's very painful to see her struggle.
Hyperventilation can be triggered by various factors such as anxiety and stress. Emotional triggers can lead to shallow, rapid breathing. Panic attacks. Intense fear or anxiety can cause hyperventilation as a response.
Any relief from it? You say to try to control my breathing in through my nose. Concentrate. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Oh God, I don't want to die. 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 I see, guys, I'm hyperventilating. Oh my God, I'm still alive. Guys, please, doctors, Ben, someone just find the cure.
At first, you don't know where it's coming from. For me, a lot of times it happened driving down the road. So imagine you're cruising down the road 70 miles an hour, enjoying a good song. Then all of a sudden, you can't hear, your arms are numb, you can't breathe. You're convinced you're dying, having a stroke, or you're gonna lose your mind right there. And there's no safe place to go other than the shoulder of the road. And that's the type of fear that people live with that have it. They know that when it comes on, it's a trauma every time. You get re-traumatized with each panic attack. And I think that's how the disorder develops. Once you've had one, then you have another that kind of snowball.
Did you know that your anxiety is a natural reflex to danger? While it may have been helpful to your survival in the past, such as telling you to run away from an attack by an animal, it can be ineffective and exhausting when the source of your anxiety today can't be physically fought and defeated. If you constantly experience irrational thoughts about your life being threatened or intense periods of stress where you feel like you may be in harm's way, this may be a sign of a panic disorder.
People who suffer heart ailments may experience bouts of anxiety and heart palpitations. Studies have also shown that people who deal with extreme anxiety from a very early age in their lives are more prone to heart disease. Anxiety can be caused by a stressful lifestyle or mental health disorders. Another common symptom of anxiety is an abnormally increased heart rate, also known as heart palpitations. People with irregular heartbeats are likely to be at risk of heart complications.
There are a number of important steps to the rubber band distraction technique, but it's called the rubber band distraction technique because a key step involves placing a rubber band around our wrist and gently snapping the rubber band back to disrupt our thoughts and jolt us into the present moment, at times where you tend to get those intrusive thoughts. And if you don't have a rubber band or a hair tie, that's not a problem. You can just flick your wrist. Remember, we don't want to be doing it too hard. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We just want to have a little bit of strength there so that it's hard enough to jolt us out of our thoughts and into the present moment.
Number 1, hypochondria. Probably the worst, because that is what makes all the following symptoms so much more intense, and is the thing that seems to keep us in this anxiety loop. Number 2, dizziness. That was a big one for me, and it came in many different forms and sensations. I could feel a general wooziness, feeling a bit off-balanced, and sometimes it could feel like the ground under me was vibrating or rocking. But the scariest ones were these very quick but intense bursts of dizziness. I think they're called dizzy spells. They were like these 1 second long rushes to my head that made me feel like I was about to collapse to the ground, faint or have a stroke, and just happened over and over throughout the day, standing right at the edge of insanity, not being able to then return. It really felt like I was just about to go crazy. 21. Mood swings. 22. New phobias and fears. Suddenly things that didn't bother you, like flying or driving, can start to freak you out. 23. Depersonalization and derealization. 24. Concentration problems, difficulties to stick to one task or getting something done, or being very forgetful. 25. Feeling of impending doom. Another huge one for me. I kid you not, every little twitch or ache or rash, whatever, that I've noticed was a clear sign of some serious illness and would spiral me into a panic attack. 26. Jaw pain. 27. Sharp cut-like sensations. Like I would get these very hurtful but short pains that felt like some little cuts that could happen anywhere on my body. 28. Afraid of being alone. I was so sure that something bad was going to happen to me that I never wanted to be alone. It got so bad that I had to move back in with my parents and had the need to keep the door open at night so that somebody would be able to find me in case something really did happen to me. I even considered getting one of these little emergency buttons you see a lot of the elderly people have. Yeah, it was pretty intense. 29. Constant body checking and scanning. Always on the lookout for symptoms. 30. Frequent crying. 31. Muscle twitches. 32. Muscle tension. 36. Unsteady walk. There were times I would genuinely question my ability to walk, or start to wonder if I'm walking right. I would so overthink walking that I no longer knew how to do it.
Those who grew up in an abusive household may lack a feeling of safety. This constant fear of physical, emotional, or psychological harm in childhood can cause problems later in life. Living in a war-torn country is also another instance where the basic feeling of safety is shattered. Feeling unsafe, especially for an extended period of time, can cause trust issues and issues with hyperarousal. Each person experiences and handles trauma in different ways, making CPTSD a challenging topic to study. What are the symptoms of CPTSD? Since CPTSD is closely related to PTSD, the symptoms often overlap. Flashbacks and/or nightmares related to the traumatic event are big indicators. Avoidance is another symptom in which you avoid situations that remind you of the event. Hyperarousal is another, where you experience intense anxiety surrounding an event and anything that may remind you of it. People with CPTSD in particular may experience relationship issues, difficulty controlling emotions, negative self-view, and detachment from the trauma, which may manifest in derealization and depersonalization.